was using this product.java is the same thing, right? Yeah, the product.java was used. In this, we are using the setter and getter methods. How many things are there? We have like ID, product name, and product price, right? And we had a Hibernate configuration file which maps the product.html. The named query means what? The SQL query, what we can show. Like here, show is the name of this SQL query itself, right? So this SQL query is nothing but select star from product. This is the query which we need to retrieve in the product operation, like where we get the named query by using the session object with the name get named query. Inside that, show. What is show now? The show part has the command and which is retrieved. So previously when I was executing this part, we were getting the output but only the object, right? That select star from product is nothing but we were getting the object. So actual thing is what? Here what tag I have used? SQL query. What I am getting? Query. So that's the reason we are getting the object itself. Means we need to retrieve SQL query type of object. Okay. So if I just say SQL query is not understandable. So next, what is the next error you can say? SQL query cannot be resolved. So what you have to do? Change that thing. So how to change it? You can say it as SQL query. Right? So what we got here? QR. QR is what now? That object which consists of that named query show. Select star from product. So it will select all the values and it will be retrieved. Right? But again, if I am trying to execute this thing, so what's happening here? We got the objects only, right? I need to transform these objects into the result form. If you see, the previous concept before this was like scalar command, right? What was that thing? Employee Hibernate or we wrote a scalar product. Which application was that? Yes, student Hibernate, right? Yeah, scalar retrieve is there, entity retrieve is there, right? So when I was getting the SQL query, we need to transform the object because it's in the object format. That object, because when you write a command select star from student 25 select star from product, the database is sending an object. That object must be transformed manually by the programmer, like qr dot set result transform create criteria dot alias to entity map, means we are changing the object to entity map. So this method must be called. So the same thing I am copying here, and inside this product operation I am trying to paste it after the alias entry. Right? Now if you want you can print the data. Like say I'm directly taking product operation and I'm trying to print it. We didn't save it. So what do you have to call here? Okay, fine. It's the opposite of it actually. First we need to write it above that, not before that. Now try to run this part. Now we got the values. What is that? Product price, ID, and the product name. Okay? It's similar to what we got from the scalar entity and the scalar retrieve and the entity retrieve. Okay. So both the things are same. Just we need to typecast the object. What object I'm typecasting here? The session dot get named query. I'm getting a SQL query now, and that SQL query is being transformed into a map object, and that map object we are calling it's converted into a collection object, and the collection object is getting retrieved by using list, and based on that list iterator we are trying to display the part. Okay, so are we able to call the get product name only? Is it possible or not? That also we can check it directly calling by the object. It's saying what? The hash map cannot be cast to the product because we converted to the alias to entity map, right? So that's the difference. It's similar to the scalar retrieve, where you can see the scalar retrieve we had an issue. It can't be typecast. We have seen that exception was coming. Same thing are getting there, right? Whereas entity retrieve means what? We can retrieve it and map with the add entity class. And once you use this add entity class, then you can convert the object and call this method, right? So here, if suppose I am trying to do the same thing here, like I have an add entity map after the session dot create SQL query, right? But here the method and here the method are different actually. So I want to check whether add entity is present inside this query object or not. So what I can do, qr dot add entity. Okay. So I just want to call this thing like what? Product class, right? Yeah. So after calling this, now I just want to call this thing like q get product name. Whether it is getting typecast or not, like we can convert that object, we can see here now. Again, what it's saying? Unsupported operation exception. Product operation dot Java. So we cannot map that class actually, right? That's the reason it's giving the error or the exception you can say. So the thing is, we can only retrieve the object in the form of object and convert that by using the set result transform. Okay, based on that we can convert the object, we can say. Is that part clear? So only the missing thing was the typecasting and conversion of the object in the form of collection object. Okay, and from the collection object we are able to retrieve it. That's the reason I said collection is an important concept at core Java, because every time we are using this iterator thing, right? We are getting the object and calling the methods, and it is a factory method. What is factory method? Anyone?
Creates object. Method which creates object.
A method which generates the object, right? So here the same thing is happening for us also. Like list iterator is the thing which generates the object, we can say. Okay. So these are the small concepts what we have covered: named query, scalar retrieve, entity retrieve, hibernate, insert, update, like get, load, merge, all these things we have seen, right? Delete also we have seen, and hibernate annotation. So next part will be the criteria. Like we have seen this criteria we are converting, right? The separate like special thing is there, criteria. So how to use it? What is the purpose of criteria? That we have to see. By using criteria, we can select the objects from the database. So the only thing why criteria is used is to select the particular object, you can say. Okay, select command we have to use. For the select operation, we are mainly focusing on. So what about this scalar retrieve then? What we are using is scalar retrieve. The same purpose, right? But in scalar retrieve or the entity retrieve, we can add the objects also. Okay, but by using the criteria, we cannot add the values to the database. That's the first and the most important point. Okay, so next thing, what is the syntax of criteria? How to call the object that we have to see. So we have two things, criteria and one more thing known as criterion. So first criteria, how to create the object, we'll see. So criteria object, every object is created using the session itself, right? So the most important thing is session, same as connection object. We have the same thing we are using here also, similar to JDBC. So have a criteria, and then by using the criteria, we can call session dot create criteria, and whatever that our class is there, we can mention that class. So create criteria is what? A particular method. What's the method? You can say factor method, which generates the object of the criteria itself. Okay, that's the one thing we can say. So why we need to create the criterion object? We can get a particular object like Pojo class objects and retrieve them, and we can try to print them directly. Okay, so if you want, a sample code will be there. Like suppose I have a product class now. So product class means criteria equals to session dot create criteria, and we have a particular employee, or you can say the product class. We have written the employee and the product right till now. So we'll see the product class now. So product class dot next list li equals to dot list. What it will do? If you see here, we are using this list method every time, right? So what is this list method is used for? A method which retrieves the values like objects from the particular, like QR is an object, right? It retrieves the object values from the object itself. Okay, and I need to call the iterator method. Till now you have seen the list iterator, right? Either if you want to use, you can use a list iterator or the iterator also, like li dot iterator. So what is happening here? I can use a while loop. So after this, it is an iterator object, li dot iterator, and we have one more thing known as, I want to check whether the value is present or not. How to check the value is present or not? Has next. This is a common method we have, right? If you want to see that thing again, Java space Java dot SQL dot iterate. Sorry, it's not SQL, it's iterator. So what is it methods we have? Has next as well as the next. And one more additional method is there. That is nothing but the remove. Next data type is what? The element. Whatever the element is there. And remove is what? It will remove the object. Okay. So now if I want, I can retrieve the values. System dot out dot println I dot, like you can say next. It will retrieve the Pojo class objects, right? But only the select command. Like directly it will write that select star from product and retrieve all the objects of the product class directly. But if you want to add the conditions like suppose I want to have the price or the product names or the product IDs whose ID is more than like 1026 or 1027. Okay. For that format, we have to use a criterion interface object. Suppose I need to add some commands Say I'm adding few values here. I have the ID, product name, and the price, right? So 1025, 1026 has been taken. So I'll insert the values directly. Note the point that here criterion cannot be used to insert the values into the database. Okay, it is not possible. Where we can use this criterion mostly for the select part to retrieve that particular objects from the database. So insert into product values will be there, and based on that ID 1027 and some name will be there, like product in the sense we're saying the charger, and the price. So we inserted a value, right? And if you want, you can change that value also. Like if you want, you can insert another value. So 1028 is a thing, and if you want to buy the books or if you want to buy an AC, and the cost is nothing but 32%. 1029. If you want to buy a car, then you can say 97. Okay, so that is the first thing. Now, I need to retrieve all the values. We can use this list iterator, but if you want to add the condition, I want to add a condition like I need the cars. Let's say products. Select from product, right? ID is there, name is there, price is there. Okay, so I want to check just the price, ascending order price you can say, or any price which is between this 50,000 or 60,000 to 1 lakh. So any condition you can give, right? The same thing is happening now. So for adding the conditions in this object, what concept we are using? So here adding the conditions. So which object we are adding the conditions to the criteria itself, right? So using criteria, we need to create criterion interface object, and we need to add this class. Add this class object to the simple thing. In order to add the conditions, we need the help of an interface. That interface is nothing but criterion because it has the methods. And in order to access these methods, we need to create the object of the criteria class, and by using this object, we can add the method directly. Okay, in that object, we can add the commands. So what is it we have? We have here dot add. So just we say it as so we added the criterion interface object, right? After adding, we can use this particular thing to create the class object. Okay, so that's the first thing. So why we need this criterion? To send the values. And which particular API we can find this criterion? In the org.hibernate itself. Okay. But if I want to call the methods of criterion, that is an interface. We can't create the object directly, right? So how to create the object? We need to use the factory methods. Again, we need to call a particular factory method to get the object. By getting the object, you are adding the restrictions to the object also, and that object is being added to the criteria. Okay, these things are happening in this particular session. You can see that directly. Restrictions is another class, like similar to driver manager. So what the driver manager is doing, driver manager dot get connection, you can say, right? The same thing is happening here also. Okay, so we need a class which can create the object, and by using the object we can add the values. That is the thing. So first of all, I need to create a application where this criterion can be used. Or if you want to create the object of it directly, we have criterion, and this criterion here needs the particular restriction class. Okay, by using this restriction class you can create an object. So where this criterion is present, criterion is an interface. And what is happening here? So if you are creating the criterion object by using this interface, which is the inside that part, right? So I need to call a method. What method we are calling? Get method. Where I can find this get method? It is inside the particular restrictions class. Okay. So what is the method? You can say criterion is an interface, and to call the methods, and call the methods inside the object. Okay, there is a part. So how to call this thing? Restrictions is a class, and by using the restriction class we can call the method known as get. And what is the condition? You can say here the product price. Okay, so restrictions dot like get method, and by using this method we can give simply an action. Like here, if you see, what is the restrictions thing? Describe. What you are trying to describe? Which table? We have the ID, we have the name, and we have the persons. Okay, so these three things can be done. I can give any condition. Either I can give the ID, either I can give the product, or either I can give the product price. Like say select star from, what do you have to say? Products. Now I want to add a condition now. How to add a condition? By using the restrictions dot get. The product price, comma, some 30,000 MSR. So what the 30,000 increases, it's nothing but get is a method which uses a special symbol known as greater than. Okay, and is this greater than 30,000? Those records only we have to say. We have to open that. Understood? So we'll create the object values, and based on that we can retrieve the commands. Okay. Now I need to write the program for this. where I can create a criteria object and load the class. After loading the class, if I want to add some command like what you can say condition, then we are using the criterion class. Okay, and in the criterion class, we are adding the particular object of criteria at the last. Okay, understood? Is it clear, everyone?
Yeah.
So already product Hibernate is there, right? The same thing, I'll just create one more thing known as product criteria, you can say. Finish it. Okay, so just want to close all those things. In this product, we don't have any package. I just want to create a package. Small names also you can take. I'll just take class here. The package name is str, right? So what is the class we have? We have a Pojo class and we have a like application part. So the first thing will be the class name. What is the class name? You can say product. And we have string product, and we have one more thing known as product name, and after that we have last thing known as product and is it that ID also in string? What we have describe product. So ID is a number now, right? So now how to generate these values? Int, what I'm saying, ID. I want to get the getter and setter methods. We have source, inside the source getter and setter. Okay, I'm just going up. That's a Pojo class we have written, right? After the Pojo class, you need the Hibernate configuration file and Hibernate mapping file, right? So the same Hibernate config and product.hbm files are there inside this particular SRC, right? Okay, if you see this file, these are in the SRC. So I'm just directly pasting it in SRC itself. So product.ht like hbm.xml, but here it's not the same class name. What's the class name? It's str dot product. Either you can use dot. Okay. I'm just writing str dot product. That's it. Okay. And for that ID, I'm matching the ID. And for that name, I'm matching the name with the column. Product show is just showing the product. Okay. So SQL query is not required, not just not using any SQL query. Now, what is the next thing we have? I need to store these details. So I'll write one more class. So what is the one more class you can say by using which we can test. Okay. New, we have class. So what is the class name we have? Product logic. Your wish, any name you can give. I'm just given that product logic as my class name. Right? So first thing, we need to create the configuration object. Before that, we need to write public static okay. So what's the first thing we do every time? We configure the file. How are we configuring? The configuration and everything. So I'll just copy paste the things, it's better. So what is happening here? We need to create that product object, right? Session object. Yeah. Configuration factory build a session object. These things will be common for every part, right? I'm getting an exception, right? Why? Error you can say because I need to add the jar file. Every time remember at the starting also you try to add the jar file. Jar file is nothing but a class of collection of classes. The same thing Mahesh and Anu. Now the configuration object is gone. So what is the object is this session. Session cannot be resolved to a variable. So we create the session object itself, right? When you are calling the build session factory or session factory. I think it's session factory. So what do you have to import? Session factory object. Okay, package must be imported. Once you have retrieved, I just want to save these things. Okay, till now it's a common path. For the entire applications, we are creating the same thing every time for every part, right? Configuring lot, XML file reading, and session factory equals to this build session factory means what? Creating a connection object you can say. Okay, and now reading the mapping file also. Okay, next session equals to factory dot open session. This one is also same, right? Just need to import the package. What are you importing org dot Hibernate. This we have imported, right? And next create a criteria. So why are you using the criteria? To use a select object. So CRT equals to what is it next thing you can say session dot create criteria and args of 0, right? So what is the parameter we need to pass here? We need to pass the class. In the class product dot class. I imported that particular criteria. If you want to add the like what you can say conditions also, method. So I can use this criterion. So you have to understand, for every particular thing we have few methods. Those methods you have to call. Okay? And how to create the object of this? It's nothing but restrictions. Restrictions dot get. In this get method, it's like, what you can say, I'll just directly try to import the part. Dot dd. What is the next thing you can have? Condition. What is the condition you have? Some condition is required, right? So which column you are writing the condition? Either ID, product name, or price. So I write for product price. And in this price also, I will pass according to the requirement. So what are the prices we have taken? It's nothing but 20, 50, minimum is 12. So I'll take after 50. Like, I want that particular things which has values above 45,000. Say this method, and last for the thing one is what? Restrictions. Here the S is missing. Import restrictions API. Right? If you want, you can see the themes. Right? So what is the next thing we have? Restrictions. Like, I just want to show you. What do you have to call here? GT. Yeah. It's not get, it's GT. Yeah. Get method also there, but we just call it as GT. Right? That's the reason I have called this particular GT, which you are passing the condition. What is the condition? Product underscore price and the particular part. Okay? Now, again, the same thing. What is the same thing you can say? After creating the object, we need to call the list method. Right? So, we have a CR, and the CR object must be added to what? To the criteria object. So, CRT. Okay? Or what is the thing you can say? CRT dot CR means what? Here we are adding the criterion object to the criteria, right? After adding that, by using the criteria object, we can get the list, and based on that, we can call the method. Okay. So what is that method? You can say cr dot list. Directly will do the listings. If you're not just selecting here, okay, so that is the list. Now I have to call the methods. What are the methods we have? We need to call such a way that, like, factory method you can have, right? So I can convert this object also, like while li dot has next.
We have to get the cursor.
Yeah, I forgot. So li dot, I can use the iterator thing or the list iterator, right? Iterator, the iterator part I equals to li. So this we have to import. Remember, I'm importing the util package iterator. Okay. So try to import the Hibernate also. Is there any difference also? You can check it out. So what's this method here? I dot next. Okay. So if I run this thing, how I'm running it? In the product criteria, product dot logic directly after this while loop. At the last thing, we can say session dot close. Right. What you're getting the objects, right? So what we need to do here, we can convert this I dot next thing in the form of product. I'm converting that into product. Class casting. So this is the most important thing. Upcasting, downcasting, right? So you're converting from object to the class type of value. Now I can call that p dot. We have get id plus p dot get product name I've just retrieved all the three values I'm trying to print it. Okay, click on it. After clicking, just try to run this. We got the values 1025 mobile, that particular salary. How much are you given? 45,000, right? Suppose if I want 60, after 60,000 I want the values greater than, right? So I can call this. So I got only 2 records now. Previously we got 3, right? Why? Because we are selecting and the greater than condition is given. At the last you can select the, see the query also. Greater symbol is there, right? How we got the greater symbol? In this restrictions class, we have these methods. Okay. So either if you want, you can have this thing like say restriction so what are the methods we have and what things we can use. So this is the actual document what has been released, okay, for the Hibernate thing. So org.hibernate interface criteria, we have a lot of methods. Okay, who is the author? Gavin King, you can say directly. So these are the method things. Add order. Order means what? Order by command. We can give the order as ascending or descending thing. Okay, and here after that we have alias. Means what? We can create an alias table even using this thing like calling the particular object. Okay, and in the same particular example, if I want to use this add order, I can call it. Okay, the parameter is what? Order. We can call this add order method. So you can order ascending order according to the price, right? Like say I'll call a method after that adding of it restrictions dot gt. Again, by creating a method, I can call a method. What is this method we have? crt dot add order. So we can add it because we are getting the method. And in this part, we can give a value. What is it? Product underscore price. Or you can say it's an order type of object. Ascending. Okay. Now you can give the product underscore what we have price. So ascending order we will get. How means we just try to run this thing product logic. Okay, but the condition is also given, right? That's the reason we got that 75. And then suppose I'll just write it as 10,000, means all the records will come, right? So I'll run it directly now. So you're getting 12, 32, 56, 75, 90, right? And if I give ascending order instead of this thing, if I can give that product name. Just click on this and column it. So we got ascending order of the products. So all these methods are there here itself. By using the object, you can call it directly. Okay. So that is a part. So what the method is doing, the description is also there. Get alias. The alias entity encapsulated this criteria instance. This object value is also coming. Right? There's a criterion thing. So if you see here, in the criterion, you don't have any insert method. You want to check also, you don't have this check method. Okay? Like insert thing is not possible. You can only get the particular object. And you can assign this particular value. Clear? So try to execute this criterion. And tomorrow we'll see the HQL part. Once the HQL part is done, then the mapping will be there. After the mapping, directly the application inside the MSC. Then this Spring we can start. Okay, so complete this, and tomorrow's class is very important, the HQL queries. And Ramesh, if possible, can you upload this video if you have recorded? Anyone, any doubts you have, anything? Same thing we are creating every time, like this list object. List is the method. What is the list method? Which whose return type is what? List. Okay, which is present inside the criteria. Which retrieves a list of objects because a bunch of objects has been retrieved and stored. Right? Right. Any doubts? Anyone? So try to execute. If you are getting an exception, send me the screenshot. If I get the time, I'll just reply you back. Okay? So that's it for today. I'll see that HQL class in the tomorrow's thing.